Some time ago, a long time ago, I released a video on how you can create your own ePaper screen that is powered by ESPHome, that is also powered by a battery, so you can have it somewhere around your desk and it shows you the data. Today we are going to look at out-of-box experience from the Seed Studio and this awesome 7.5-inch screen, ePaper screen. It is customizable, but it also works nicely with Home Assistant. We'll start in a couple of seconds. The topic of this video, as I said, is this Seed Studio ePaper screen. This is a ESP32 power device, and that means that you can hook it up with ESPHome. And why is that important? Because based on that, we can configure the software any way we want. There are a couple of alternatives, but Seed Studio has created an awesome documentation, and today we are going to look at the device itself, what it can do, and also how you can customize it inside Home Assistant. So let's get started. First thing, let's talk about device. This device is actually a big screen, but most importantly, this is the ePaper screen. And ePaper is great because ePaper is not using the same amount of power as normal displays, and that means that it can run out of battery, it can be ESPHome powered, yet you do not have to recharge it each and every day, like for example I have to do with my Google Watch. The battery that is powering this device is included, and that is a 2000 mAh lithium-ion battery. And in my opinion, this is maybe the worst part of the device, because I would have preferred to have a bit larger battery, 3-4000 mAh. The good thing about this device is that the case is 3D printed. And that means that somebody someday will create a different case that can accommodate even larger batteries. That's also awesome thing because I love when we have 3D printers included in the projects for the smart home. So what can you expect out of battery life? It all depends on the frequency of updates, the sleep period, etc. etc. But according to Seed Studio, those 2000 mAh battery can last up to 3 months if you have 6-hour update interval between the refresh of the display. The rest of the time, the device is in the deep sleep. That doesn't mean that the device is not using power, it's just using way less power than it would normally use. If you change that deep sleep interval from 6 hours to 12 hours, or reduce it to, for example, 1 hour, that will either greatly increase or decrease the battery life. One thing I did previously to keep the battery alive as long as possible is to create a time when the device will not update. So for example, it starts update only at 7 or 8 am and it finishes the updates at around 8, 9 or 10 pm. That means that we have 1, maybe 2 updates during the day, but that may not work in all cases. For example, if you want to display calendar events for today and tomorrow, plus for example today's forecast and tomorrow's forecast, that can be okay. On the other hand, if you want update to show the current room temperature, current sensor states, current light states, media player states, or image from the camera, yeah, the stale image that's been taken 6 hours ago would not work with that. But as I said, it all depends on what use case you want to do. Maybe it can even update less frequently, once a day. For example, if you have some kind of a to-do list or shopping list. That list doesn't change that often, maybe updating the list only once or maximum 2 times a day would again greatly improve the battery life. But enough about that, let's start looking at the code, because that's the main and most important thing here. As always, Seed Studio has created an awesome documentation, and this time part for the Home Assistant is even better than it was before. And since this device is marketed towards Home Assistant users, that's understandable. So let's get started with the documentation, see what you need to do and how hard it is actually to add this device to Home Assistant, to program it and also to customize it. I will be following examples from this video, but some things I will have to adjust. Same as you would do, for example, because not all of us have the names of the sensors and entities as the documentation states here. First off, the documentation guides you on how to install ESPHome, but we will skip that step because most of us probably already have ESPHome. The next step is to add new device. Once again, for that you need to have ESPHome installed. You create a new device, select the type of device, skip some steps, and you already have pre-configured YAML file for that device. Device itself comes with a standard factory installed image that's a placeholder for something. Then when you first power it on, either via the cable or via the battery, it will show the default Home Assistant screen. But this screen is once again factory installed. What we will need to do is, after we have set up the device, we need to create a firmware for it. That way we will sync our device with our Home Assistant. After the device has been created, we need to edit the file and also need to install the firmware. Each step includes code, which you can see by clicking the link here, copying the code by pressing this button, pasting it inside ESPHome, and then selecting Install to flash that firmware. In the documentation you can find 3 ways on how to do that. First is to install it through the browser, and this is this option with the USB-C cable. Also, you can do it through the host if, for example, this device is plugged in directly inside your Home Assistant, but most of us usually avoid that because Home Assistant is tucked away somewhere else. And the third option is to install it via the Wi-Fi, but for that you need to have your Seed Studio device already connected to your network, and once again you will probably need cable to do so. And that's it, the device should now be flashed, and the display will take a couple of seconds to refresh and show Hello World instead of the default screen. The device is currently set, it is synced with Home Assistant, you can probably see it already as a new discovered device in Home Assistant, you can add it, everything should be synced and work nicely. But, as I said, currently we have only Hello World. Once again we have example of code. Click on it, copy it, and paste it inside ESPHome. In the ESPHome select Edit Device, paste it there, and then install it. This firmware will create objects. It will update the screen every 5 minutes. This is this update interval. And then we have this lambda function that creates a couple of objects. We have 2 rectangles, 1 circle, and then we have filled rectangles and filled circle. When you flash the firmware, you should see those shapes on the screen. It should look something like this. As I mentioned in the previous step, is that probably Home Assistant has discovered a new device. In order for you to check that, click on the Settings, Integrations, and you should see this device as a discovered device. Simply click on Add, and the device will be added to Home Assistant. That's it, you can select area, but it's not mandatory. You also have ability to replace the code now with the new code. This one is using the font. It is pulling weather information from Home Assistant, so you have to customize this entity, weather.forecast_home, with whatever entity you are using inside Home Assistant. For me, this is weather.home, and same applies to this temperature and also pressure entity. We have 2 text sensors. One is pulling the weather information, the other one is pulling temperature information, and the third one is pulling pressure information. Then we again reset the display. Update interval is 30 seconds, and on the screen we display weather, temperature and pressure. Click on Save, click on Install, and once again you can use the cable to flash the latest firmware on it. In just a couple of seconds the display will blink and you should see the information about your weather. Next example allows us to display icons, and this is awesome because we don't just want to display text on the screen, we also want to display the icons, so yes, that we have a nice graphical interface. But this one also requires you, but requiring you also teaches you how to install fonts that you can later on use inside ESPHome. In this example, the Seed Studio is using Visual Studio Code or Studio Code Server, and that is the same thing that I prefer to do. But you can also use File Editor to create a folder called Fonts as a subfolder of the ESPHome folder. Click on the link to download the zip file containing the fonts, and then move those fonts from your PC inside this fonts subfolder. Inside that fonts folder we should have now 2 files, TTF files, so TrueType fonts. That way you can customize by downloading any font from the internet, TTF font from the internet, and using that font on the display. Once again we have example that you can copy. In this example we are using Material Design Icons Web Font TTF. This is the file that we just copied on our Home Assistant instance. We are defining the glyphs that will be pulling those 2 icons, whether cloudy and whether hail, and you can find the codes on the website. Again, the documentation is great and it will tell you how you can find those codes and customize your own icons. And on the display, we will display two icons. One will be medium size and the other one will be large size. And this display will be updated every 30 seconds. The code should look like this, and the display should show two icons like these two. If you want to go to the website to browse the icons, you can click on the link here and it will open the Material Design Icons website where you can browse the fonts. For example, let's find something for the snow, and we have various snow related icons. And then just copy the code that you see on the right side of the icon name to get that icon inside ESPHome, like this example here. But now comes actually the fun part. There are two ways on how you can display easily dashboards. One is to actually use your dashboard and display it on the ePaper screen by Seed Studio, and the other one is not that easy but also really not hard to customize the example we will look in a minute or two that Seed Studio provided. For some of you, it may be better to use pre-made screen inside your Home Assistant. But for that, we need to have add-on. And that add-on also implies that you are running Home Assistant OS. There are ways on how you can do it via the Docker, but we will not be looking at that one. We'll be looking at the add-on option. Balob or Polus has created an add-on called Puppeteer. And you just need to install the Puppet or Puppeteer, and we will be using that one to display the dashboard directly from Home Assistant. You need to install it, so you need to click on the link here and follow the instructions on how to add and also install this Puppet as a custom add-on repository, and then install it and activate inside Home Assistant. But this one also requires you to create a token, and token is created by clicking on your logo name, going to the security page, going down to the long live access token section, and then creating new token. Copy it, and then we will need to use that one when the Puppeteer or Puppet is installed. In the Puppet, go to the configuration page, click on access token field, paste the code, click save, then go back to the information screen and restart the add-on. This is mandatory. If you do not restart it, it will not be using token. From now on, you can create a screenshot of any page on your dashboard. You do that simply by replacing the port, standard port 8123 for Home Assistant, with the port 10,000, leaving the Lovelace and the name of the dashboard. This one here is 0, but this depends on the name or how you rename the dashboard, and then adding the question mark, viewport equals the size of the screenshot you want to make. In this case, this is 1000 by 1000 pixels, and from Seed Studio we need to customize that to 800 by 400 pixels. The second option is to convert this to black and white by adding eInk equals 2, and this will customize to only two colors, black and white. And also if you want, or for example if you are displaying dark screen, to revert it to the light screen, just add invert at the end of the string. I know that it looks a bit complicated, but believe me, once or twice you try it, it will be easy for you to customize what you want to see and how you want to get the screenshot from your Home Assistant. Then, for the code inside ESPHome, we need to replace it so that it is using that URL to create screenshot and then display that same URL or screenshot inside the Seed Studio ePaper display. First we define how we do HTTP requests, verify SSL is false, timeout is 10 seconds, watchdog timeout is 15 seconds. Then we create an entity on the ESPHome called dashboard image, which will be PNG format, binary, buffer size, and the URL. This is the URL that you need to customize. Update interval. Don't be too greedy. 30 seconds is really awesome, but 30 seconds also is too often if you, for example, just display forecast or calendar for today or tomorrow. And then in the display, we are using this to display this dashboard image. Save the file that you've edited and also install it via the cable or Wi-Fi on your ePaper screen. And you should see something like this. This is the best and the easiest way for you to have dashboard on your Seed Studio ePaper screen. But one thing we didn't tackle inside the examples is the deep sleep. We have here option to do updates every 30 seconds, but even when the device is not doing updates every 30 seconds, 5 minutes, 60 minutes or whatever, yes, the device is still turned on all the time, and that will chew up the battery in no time. That's why we now have example of the code on how to create or put device inside deep sleep. The example will update information every 6 hours. We have information about sleep counter. Deep sleep run duration is 30 seconds. That means the device is wake up and running for 30 seconds to be able to connect to the Wi-Fi network, pull data from Home Assistant, wait for some data if it's missing, and then display it. After that, it will go to deep sleep for, in this case, 3 minutes. Everything you can customize. In this example, 1 second before the device goes to deep sleep, we log that the device is entering deep sleep now. It can help you with the debugging to see if this code is run or not. Maybe there is a connectivity issue, or maybe there is something else. Then we have once again font information, SPI, and the display. And here the display in this example will tell you how many times the device was woken and once again went to deep sleep. So this is the code that you can, of course, integrate inside your own ESPHome code. So far we have seen on how you can follow the examples to display text, to display shapes, to get fonts, icons inside this device. Then we've seen an example on how we can create screenshots of the existing dashboard inside Home Assistant. But now let's look at the comprehensive example on how you can create everything inside ESPHome. No need for the screenshots and still have very nice UI that you can customize any way you want. Once again, the documentation is great. It will tell you to check out if you have forecast enabled in Home Assistant or not. All the systems by default should already have forecast available. It will guide you on how to check states to see if you have a forecast or visibility, temperature, humidity, whatever you want to pull inside Home Assistant. Then it will also guide you on how to add if you do not have already calendars inside your Home Assistant. Everything you need to do so that you can pull events from the calendars. And this example is using 3 calendars. That means that, for example, you can have Google calendars, all calendars you have inside Google, and also your local calendars that are hosted inside Home Assistant. How to customize the code. And once again, it will tell you to copy the files, Wi-Fi JPEG, icon TTF file, and font TTF file to the image folder and fonts folder. If you remember, we've created previously fonts folder, we now need to create image folder and copy the Wi-Fi JPEG file there. Plus, of course, the code that you can copy and then need to paste inside ESPHome. As we mentioned, you also need to customize the code. For example, we need to customize the deep sleep, but you can leave it as is for now. The image that we've just copied to the image subfolder of the ESPHome, this Wi-Fi JPEG. Then we need to specify different calendars. For example, we have calendar, ePaper event, and new calendar. These are all calendar names that you can customize to whatever names you are using inside Home Assistant, plus the forecast information. For example, for me, this is not weather.forecast_home. For me, this is weather.home. And we need to do this for the first sensor, the temperature sensor, humidity, pressure, and wind speed. Plus, once again, we are using customized fonts in the fonts folder, and also fonts for the material icons, for the temperature, humidity, wind, pressure, rainy weather, cloudy weather, etc., etc. And then we have display that is segmented into 2 parts. When the device is connected to the Wi-Fi, we will see this logo or Wi-Fi JPEG and the text Wi-Fi connecting. And after the connection has been established, we are creating display that will show the weather information and also the calendar information on the Seed Studio screen. And that's pretty much it. You can either use this code as is by just changing the entity names, or of course you can further customize it. Add more events from more calendars, add more events from a single calendar, change how you display weather information, etc., etc. And when you save the code and install it, you should see something like this. Or in my case, the code looks like this. More or less everything is the same except the entity names and the JPEG. I replaced that JPEG with PNG file, but I'm not liking that file and I will be changing it to something else. So, $69 for a 7.5 6-inch ePaper screen from Seed Studio. I don't know if the price is just right, a bit too high or a bit too low, but $69 for the display, and this is the eInk paper display this size, plus the ESP board, plus the battery, plus the case, plus everything, in my opinion it's a fair price. I wish it was a couple of US dollars cheaper than it currently is, but still for $69 it would be hard for you to source all the items, do the boards, do the case, etc. by yourself. I was always impressed by Seed Studio and this hasn't changed. They always have awesome documentation, awesome examples that guide you on how you can start using the device, but also give you some hints on how you can further customize it and make it even work better for your own setup. Yes, there are some questions that will pop down in a comment section below, and I already had a question on the previous video where I mentioned these devices. Unfortunately, this case today doesn't have ability to be hung on the wall. When somebody creates custom case for that device, I really believe that it will include some kind of a hanging option. This is missed opportunity in my case, but also this is a tinkering device that you can use out of box, but it's also awesome that you can customize it, not just a display, but possibly the case in the future. The STL files are something that I would really love to see for this device, plus also object files that could be imported in some kind of 3D editor to edit the case. Those two things are currently missing and I really do hope that Seed Studio will fix that and release those files. Maybe it's actually out, but I couldn't find it. Once again, is it worth? When I remember what I had to do previously to get that ePaper display working with ESPHome and how things are done today, this is a big improvement, not just by the Seed Studio but also by ESPHome that now supports some things that are previously not available out of box. So combining the latest versions of the ESPHome and this device, you can really create an awesome display that could sit or stand on your nightstand. And this is where I'm currently keeping the device. Each morning when I wake up I can just glance at the screen, see the current forecast and the expected temperatures, plus also see what's on my calendar for today or next couple of days. And that means that if you are looking for a static display, not something that you can touch and control devices, this is, in my opinion, currently on the market, definitely the best option for out-of-box experience. But you will have to tinker with code no matter where you go. If you want to go with the screenshots that you can do with the Puppet or Puppeteer, or for example, if you want to create your custom screens. But as you've seen, everything can be done in just a couple of minutes. Not seconds maybe, but in a couple of minutes everything can be running and customized to your liking. And for all of you that are waiting for detailed specification, this is XIAO ESP32C3 type of device, 7.5-inch monochrome ePaper display with a resolution of 800 by 480, 3.3 up to 5 volts lithium-ion battery, 2000 mAh. Dimensions are 178 by 138 by 90 millimeters. The case is printed out of PLA, white filament, and yes, 3D printed, and the operating temperature is between 40 degrees centigrade minus and 85 degrees centigrade plus, which I seriously doubt because I do believe that PLA at those temperatures would start to warp and change shape. Total weight of the device is 218 grams. And this is it for this Seed Studio video. If you are looking for an easy out-of-box experience, you can set this device in no time inside Home Assistant. You can customize it, it's running out of battery, and it really is finished product. And 3D printed case is just adding on that finished product experience, because you could potentially customize it. All the links to the Seed Studio documentation, device, and also Aliexpress link to the store that is selling this device will be down in a video description below. If you have any kind of a comment or a question, you can always post them down in the comment section below. And if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up because it really means a lot and it definitely helps with the YouTube channel algorithms. But before I end up the video, As always, I need to say thanks to all those wonderful people that are supporting me and that have become YouTube channel members. Thank you all for all of your support. But let's not forget each and every one of you who has watched, shared, liked, or commented on my videos. Thank you. If you too want to support the channel, you can do so by clicking the join button down below and becoming a YouTube channel member for only €2 or $2 per month. Or you can go to my merchandise store and get something there. Last but not least, as always, you can send me super thanks and I will be super thankful for that. I will be seeing you next time. Until then, bye bye and have fun.